guys, welcome back to the Cozy Corner. Today I'm going to be doing a very late review of my January reads. So let's get into it. In this video I'm also going to add the reading challenge that I did in January because I somehow have misplaced all the footage for that. So I'm just going to add those books onto the end of this video as well. So it might be a slightly longer video than normal, but we roll. So the first book I read was a poetry book, and that was The Sun and Her Flowers. There were a few poems in here that I did really like, but I've had this book for a few years now and I've read it a few times, so I will be donating it to a little free library because it is not my favourite poetry book, but it was still good. I think I gave it a 3-star. The next book I read was Ava Delaria's Love Letters to the Dead. I loved this book. I really did. It's about a young girl called Laurel, and for her English assignment she has to write a letter to somebody who has passed away. She very quickly realises that the only way she can deal with her life and what has happened to her in her childhood was through writing letters to various people who had passed. So the whole story is written in letter form to various different famous people. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 stars. Please do look up trigger warnings though if you're going to read this one. That is my only advice, but it was so good. The next book that I read was Pauline Francis, The Raven Queen. I had such high hopes for this book. Like, I anticipated reading this so much, and I was a little bit disappointed. Not totally, I still gave it a 4-star, but I just think so much more could have been done with this book. So it is a historical fiction about Lady Jane Grey, who was Queen of England for a really lengthy long reign of 9 days. So it's just her story and how she ultimately met her demise. It's told from 2 points of view, so it's told from Jane's point of view, and then it's also told from Ned's point of view. As I said, I did enjoy it. I just thought a lot more could have been done with it, but it was okay. It was quite an easy read. So yeah, if you're after a historical fiction which is quite easy to read, quick to read, not massively heavy, it's a good starter. After that I listened to my first audiobook of the year, and that was The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. Oh my goodness, that was let's not shake the bookcase too much. That was amazing. It was for me it was a 6-star read. I've thought about it every single day since I finished reading the book, and it is easily in my top 10 books of all time, quite possibly in my top 3 of all time. That's how much I enjoyed it. It's a book, again, from different points of view through different timelines. So you have Cass in a modern day timeline, you have her grandmother Nell in in the 50s possibly, and then you have another character who's known as the authoress, who has a timeline earlier than that as well. And Cassie's grandmother passes away, and when she passes away this family secret starts to unravel. So it's set between 2 countries, set between Australia and England. So the secrets start to unravel in Australia, and to find answers to the questions and to the secrets, Nell travels to England and starts like a investigation. It doesn't matter how I explain this, it's not going to do it justice. I highly recommend this book. I couldn't recommend it enough. So again, if you like historical fiction, if you just like a good book, 100% absolutely recommend. 6-star read, and to be honest, I very much doubt I'm going to find anything as good as that this year, which makes me a little bit sad, but the standard is really high. Following The Forgotten Garden, I picked up V.E. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. As you can see, thoroughly enjoyed this one as well. It is a 5-star read. I've also thought about this quite a bit since I finished reading it. It is set between, it's set in a lot of countries, but the main storyline is set between France and New York. The story starts in the 1700s, where this French lady, Addie, is unhappy with her life, so she makes a deal with a character known as the Darkness, and in exchange for her soul, this tells her that she can live forever. But she would be remembered by nobody. So as soon as Addie leaves a room, or somebody walks away from Addie, they totally forget who she is. Until one day, Addie walks into a bookshop and meets somebody, a gentleman called Henry, who doesn't forget who she is. So you have the timeline of Addie when she was younger, right up until present day when she's with Henry, which is a span of about 300 years. It's a really, really good story. It made me laugh, it made me angry, it made me emotional. It hit all the emotional beats, and I really love this book. I can't wait to read it again. So yes, highly recommend. Now, the next book I read was This Year Will Be Different. Hands up, this is partly my fault. I picked this for January because when I read about this book, I was under the impression that it was about New Year. So I was like, perfect January read. No, it's about Christmas. Mistake number 1. Also, there are 25 short stories in here, and at least 17 of them are about people having affairs and cheating on their partners. That's not really my vibe. I don't know why the author fixated so much on that theme, but it is very prominent. There are a couple of good stories in here. There were a couple that I did quite enjoy, but overall, it really wasn't for me. This will be given to a free little library because I rated this 2.5 stars. I'm not going to pick it up again, and it's just going to take up space that I want for the books. So I will unhaul that one, and I'm sure somebody somewhere will like it. After that book, I got in a bit of a reading slump, so I decided to go back to basics and picked out one of my favourite childhood books, just for something really easy and comforting to read, and that was Jacqueline Wilson's Sleepovers. No, just Sleepovers, not The Sleepovers. And as I said, one of my favourite books as a kid. It's really easy to read, got some really cute illustrations in it, and it's just a really heartwarming book about friendship and accepting people for who they are, no matter what they look like or what their family setup is or their abilities. So I gave this one a 4-star, and I'm so glad that I picked up one of my childhood books again because it really reset my mind for continuing the reading. So after that, I audiobooked The Telephone Box at the Edge of the World. This is loosely based around a real life, it's not a monument, man-made thing. So it's a telephone box in the mountain forest of Japan, and the telephone box is not connected to anything, but people go into the telephone box and pick up the receiver, and they speak to their loved ones who have passed away. Some people go there and speak to loved ones who are still living, but they don't have a good relationship, or they say things that they don't have the courage to say to that person's face. And what a brilliant idea. How many of us would love to say that thing that's bugging us because we didn't have the time or the courage to say to somebody that we loved who's passed away? But then I was thinking, like, if I went there and I picked up the receiver, would I actually be able to speak? I don't know. Anyway, sidetracking. The two main characters in the book both lost loved ones in the Japanese tsunami of 2011, which obviously is a real life event that happened. And it's about friendship and love and healing and forgiveness, and it was so heartwarming. I really, really did enjoy it. That one I rated a 4-star as well. Then I picked up a physical book again, and it didn't go very well. And alas, we have the first DNF of the year. I'm hoping I don't have too many DNFs this year. But Robert Iger's The Ride of a Lifetime, CEO of Walt Disney. This is partly my fault. I read the preface and really enjoyed it, when I should have actually read the first couple of pages of the first chapter before buying it, because then I probably wouldn't have bought it. Because I thought it was going to be a biography, but it's more about lessons on how to be a CEO, and that's not really my career path. So unfortunately, I didn't get into it, and I don't think I'm going to pick it up again, so I will probably end up donating this to a little library, or maybe to a friend, or if not, just to a charity shop. Then we have Spacebound by Mike Massimino. I love Mike Massimino. I read the first 4 or 5 chapters, and then I blinked and January was over. So technically this is not a DNF. It will be going back on my TBR shelf because I will pick it up again at some point and continue to read it. But yes, not a DNF, but I also can't rate it because I haven't read enough. So that will be back on the TBR. And then the last book of the month was an audiobook. And I have fallen down the Sarah J. Maas rabbit hole and am now into the world of ACOTAR. So I audiobooked the first in the ACOTAR series, and it's called A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I really enjoyed it, a lot more than I thought I would. It's a series that's been so hyped up, and I'm not a massive fantasy reader, and I'm definitely not a romance reader, so romantasy doesn't really call me. But it was available to listen to on audiobook, and so many people I know have been talking about it, so I'm just going to give it a go. Oh my goodness. Why didn't I start this series earlier? But it's fine, we're starting it now. There were a couple of chapters which were a little bit smutty. I'm just going to ignore those slightly. And I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. And I cannot wait to continue the series. I know a lot of people say that the first book isn't the best, the second and the third one are a lot better, so I can't wait for the second book to come available so I can listen to that as well. So excited. I'm not really one who reads a lot of series either. I prefer standalone books, so to actually read a series that I want to continue reading is really exciting. So that was all the books I read on my TBR. The reading challenge I did was a reading poetry for, I can't remember how many hours it was, a certain amount of hours, and I read 5 poetry books. I read 2 by Amanda Lovelace, To Drink Coffee with a Ghost and To Make Monsters Out of Girls. They're both really good. I don't know if you guys can see, but I did tab them quite a lot. There's quite a lot of poems in here that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed this one. It reads, "Didn't anyone ever warn you not to trick a girl who reads? She's already seen everything. Don't waste your time again." I was like, ah, yeah. And then this one is titled, "This Isn't the End Yet. Don't ever doubt that you will rise from the ruins of all the people who wanted power to grow their palms for all the wrong reasons." I found some of them quite deep and made me really reflective, and also the covers, like that cover, love that. And then the other author or poet I read was Rudy Francisco. Rudy Francisco is one of my favourite poets. He does spoken poetry, and I think the society is called Bottom Poetry. Anyway, I read I'll Fly Away and Helium. Again, covers are really pretty, and I tabbed a lot of poems from those. I think my favourite poem was, "Have you ever noticed how much water hates to argue, how it moulds itself into the shape of the poor, makes a home where it lands, but also never gives up its identity, as if to say, sure, I'll stay, but only if I can be myself." And I think there's a lesson here. And then the other Rudy Francisco I read was Getting Stitches, which I think was one of his, I'm not sure if it's first or second book he released, but yeah. I think I rated all of these between 4 and 5 stars. So in total I read 11 physical books, 3 audiobooks, 1 DNF and 1 I ran out of time, so it's going to go back on the TBR. Mr. Massimino, there you go. Thank you so much for joining me for my January roundup and my reviews. Let me know in the comments what your favourite reads of January were and if you have any recommendations, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!